Hello, today I am going to talk a little bit about how I did the sugar skull piece out of the black luminescent. And before I even get into the process here, I just want to thank again Sharon Faith Hunter, another Facebook glass friend out there who makes beautiful art, and she had shared about using the paper, which is what I'm going to show you. So I don't know how well this is going to show up on the video. This piece, I actually just tried to rework it adding some mica, but it's still dull. This piece I put luminescent side down, which is this gorgeous glass by Wissmach that I have had good luck with in the past. But when I did this, I just did zip on the mold, put my luminescent side down, and then I always do a layer of powder between. I did my powder and then the top glass, which is clear, much of what I'll be showing this evening. But with just the zip, I'm guessing it's just the radiant heat getting underneath into the crevices in between, and what it did was it burned all of that luminescent off. And unfortunately it didn't really burn it off evenly. There's some patches that are a little scummy, so I wanted to add some mica detailing on this one in the grooves, and that part worked. Thing is, with that mica that I was using, I don't think you're supposed to cap it, so I didn't add any powder or anything. I may be able to dust this with some powder, refire it, and get it to shine. I may end up just sandblasting the whole thing. You know, I'm not going to throw it out because I feel I can do something with it to bring the shine back. So for now, it's just going to go in the when I have time pile. I'm sure you all have some of those. But anyway, this was my second try after Sharon's tip, and it turned out fantastic. And I wanted to do a round one. The first piece I did on this mold, I actually did round, and then I slumped into the small organic mold. CPI makes that one as well. And this sugar skull mold is a Creative Paradise CPI mold. So this one I slumped in the organic mold. It loses a little bit of the design in the shape bowl, but I like to do fun and funky colors, and so that was my first one. I did like the round shape on here, and as you can see on the mold, you can either make round or you can do the full square. This one just happened to be the full square. It was a little tricky for me to fit the glass. I always like to cut it a little bit smaller than the mold so there's no crawling off during firing. Had that happen before, and then you end up with a broken piece. So, you know, if you look closely, you can see it's a little uneven along there. Not the end of the world, but I think as I look at this, I wanted to make a round one. So in the interest of time, I already cut some round circles. I need to clean them yet, but I have cut, for this project, I've cut them 9.5 inches. First one I did, I cut, I believe, 9 1/4, and it could have been a little bit bigger. So I cut two 9.5 inch circles. One is the black luminescent, and because I have had a little bit of compatibility issues lately, I think trying to mix glasses, I just cut another piece of Wissmach clear. So both are 96. What I'm going to show you now though is how I fired this on the mold. First thing I'm going to do though is for the mold, and even though I am just making this one a circle, I'm still going to cut a piece of papyrus, is what I happen to have on hand. I'm going to cut it the size of the mold. So to do that, probably should have thought ahead of time here and cleared some space. By the way, after firing on this paper, you know, I could probably put another piece on and get another firing out of it. Not going to chance it with this one, but I know I've fired on papyrus before. You know, there is a layer of zip underneath here, so I'm going to try not to disturb this too much, other than a few stray pieces. Yeah, it was probably because I bumped it. Looking at this though, I think you probably could get more than one firing out. Maybe if somebody's tried that on a mold, you can share in the comments if that works. But anyway, I'm going to take my mold. I've got paper, not pieces. Don't think it's quite big enough. Oh, you know what? It is. think these sheets are like 20 by 20, so I probably took a half of one. What I did the first time was I just laid my mold upside down. It is slightly smaller, but for this piece it's going to work. And you could do this with scissors. I usually, if I'm just cutting a square, it usually will, depending on your humidity level, it'll usually just tear nice. So save that for another one. So now I've got my mold, which still has a layer of zip on there. If I were going to fire on this directly, I would probably freshen that up, brush off any excess. But what I've got now is I've got my mold, I've got my papyrus, and you can use thin fire. This just happens to be what I have. I'm going to put that down. Next, before I put my black layer down, obviously I got to clean it, but I'm also going to sift a layer of clear powder over it. I do this because it seems to help a little bit with kind of the little bumps you can get in the glass. I did still get a couple in this piece, and I'm not sure if I'm even going to be able to find them now that it's swamped. Yeah, I'm not seeing them. But I still get them once in a while, but it does seem to help quite a bit. So I use vinegar if I'm going to paint. Alcohol, though, usually works for me for cleaning the glass. I just keep a bottle handy, and I do get the, I just get the cheap stuff, but it's the 91%. I usually just put a little bit on my glass, take a towel. You could use paper towel. I try not to waste too much. Towels are washable, reusable. Hopefully this is going to render okay on the video. I'm kind of keeping an eye on it on my iPad, and it looks a little blurry, but I think that's just my iPad trying to catch up with the GoPro. Okay, so I would call this clean. I don't see, oh, I do see a couple fingerprints. I believe I had already wiped this down once. I actually had a larger circle cut for a different project, and I decided it would be great to demonstrate this with. So again, before I put that on there, I am going to put a dusting of clear powder over it. When I do that, and when you do that, you're going to want to wear a mask or a respirator. Sometimes I'll just throw on a dust mask. I actually have my respirator lined up ready to go. I don't know if you can see. You don't want to see me. This is after a day long of work. And I'm just going to take, usually I put paper under here and capture my leftover powder. I'm probably going to waste just a little bit today, but that's okay. I'm not really going to cover the whole, well, I am going to cover the whole thing. Sorry. As I say, it's not going to be a real thick layer. Again, always use safety precautions. It's probably good to wear safety glasses as well, just as stuff gets airborne. So that, I have my powder down. Now, something I suppose I could take this off while I talk. Something I noticed when I placed my square down this last time trying to center it. With the paper down, I can't really see where I should be, but I thought, what if I just kind of go over that with a pencil? I think that should work. Hopefully it doesn't come off on the glass. I'm not sure if it will. I'm really just trying to catch where the edge of the circle is. I suppose I could go over it like a pencil rub. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, it's all the way up here. So I'm just making some guidelines so when I lay the glass down, I get it centered. Again, mold, I I feel safer having the zip layer on there. I suppose if you're using paper, you really wouldn't even have to do that. But I don't want anybody to run their molds. Of course, now I've moved my lines, of course. Okay. I'm going to place this first layer down. Again, the luminescent side is down. I'm not going to turn it over and re-show because I will end up with a mess. I think if I could just line up one edge. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Ah, it's nice. It kind of fits. You can kind of feel where that circle is. So I'll probably end up editing some of this out. You probably don't need to hear me just more or less talking to myself. Just checking my placement. Looks pretty good. And then I want to clean my top layer of glass as well. Now I'm just going to take my 9.5 inch clear circle and place it on there, and it is ready to go into the kiln. Usually what I'll do is when I have powder, I don't like it to pool along the edges because it can make a rough edge, and I'll just take a paintbrush and make sure that I don't have any powder just along the edge of this. But I'm going to put this into the kiln. I'll share a firing schedule that I'm using. Just remember, all kilns are different. Yours may fire hotter. You may not need to go as hot. You know, I have successfully fired Wissmach Luminescent when it was just on the shelf with the paper, so there was no mold. But again, shelf, papyrus, I believe it was, and then my Wissmach down. That actually went to 1485. I'm not going to go that hot with this one, and it kept its color. So just things, you know, experiment with a few pieces, maybe test some. But this one I'm going to take to 1440, and I'll post my full schedule. Just with that caveat that kilns are different. So anyhow, I hope this was helpful. Again, thanks again, Sharon Faith Hunter, for your tip on using the paper. And I know I've heard of using it on top. I haven't tried. I did try one little test just to mask a design, placing it on top, and I must have taken it too hot because my paper stayed intact, but I still lost my finish where it was at. So more testing for me as well. But this one should turn out, and I will update this at the end with a picture, probably in the comments, because I'll get this posted before I get the finished piece out. But anyway, hope this is helpful. Thanks a lot. So here is the sugar skull piece that we set up in the video prior, and I don't have my GoPro set up, so I'm just going to try to lift this. Again, I think if you were careful, you'd be able to use the paper more than once. Hand to do this. Here I can see some of the paper did stick, but I can see the finish is there. I don't want to blow that fiber paper into the air, so I'm just taking a wet towel to wipe it off. And I wouldn't take this right out of the kiln and wash it, but this has been cooling for at least a couple days while I've been there. And there we have another successful Wissmach Black Luminescent that was fired on a texture mold. That was CPI Sugar Skull. Cut a round one. This one was 9.5 inch round. And as you can see, the back side looks nice in this video. But anyway, wanted to share how it looked at the end. Thank you.